Another 12 months have gone by. What a year, you guys. Welcome to Setup Wars episode 355, the final episode of Setup Wars for 2024. I know we've only done like 18 episodes this year, but I promise next year will be a lot better. Considering the special editions, we've showcased over 90 setups. That's over 90 different expressions of personality, hobbies, and interests. You guys are what makes this series so special. You inspire others to do better and to be more creative, and I am honored to be the outlet that spreads the inspiration across the world. Next year, we're definitely aiming for more crazier episodes, but until then, sit back and relax. Let the Setup Wars begin.
New year, let's draw near. Edgar's got what you wanna see here. Setup Wars, nothing else compares. 2025, let's go, no fear. 2025, let's go, no fear.
This video is sponsored by VIPYourCDKey.com. If you're building yourself a PC or you're looking to upgrade Windows, do not pay full price for a key and instead pick them up from here. They have legit Windows 10 Pro keys as well as Windows 11 Pro keys for dirt cheap. Using the code TS20, you'll get a nice discount. And after checking out, they will send you instructions on how to retrieve the key within a minute. And afterwards, all you have to do is go into the activation settings and put it in and you're good to go. Poison Ivy called, she wants her babies back. Kicking off the episode is Cormac, a 13-year-old student from Northern Ireland, and his super green plant-filled setup. He started building it 3 years ago when he was only 10. It's not rare having very young contestants on the show, but I'm always surprised whenever I read your submission notes. And I'm even happier to see that it's not a rainbow puke setup either. Cormac here went with a beautiful green color theme featuring lots of real plants, ivies, and IKEA greenery, which looks great against the dark wall in the back. He's using dual monitors in a stacked layout. We got a 34-inch AOC mounted to the desk with a 24-inch MSI monitor as an overhead mounted to the wall. Behind them are his Z120 speakers, which are somewhat blocked by the ultrawide. And normally I would suggest putting them down horizontally, but the speakers are so small, they wouldn't really make a difference. For peripherals, he went with a high ground keyboard and a glorious mouse with what appears to be some random items around them too. Okay, look, this goes for everyone watching this video and potentially anyone who wants to be on the show in the future. I know sometimes you want to show off the cool stuff in your setup while you're taking pictures, but realistically speaking, how often do you have your watch in that position or your knife just chilling on the desk? Look, if you like to have them out in the open like this, that's cool, but at least consider displaying them in a cool wooden or small leather trays like these, for example. There are tons of options in different colors and designs on Amazon, but I'll leave a link to a few I recommend. But the main point here is that this will help your items not look so out of place. Also, while we're at it, I do recommend picking up a wrist rest for your keyboard so your hand is at a more comfortable angle typing. We do have both a wood material and an acrylic version, which is currently our top seller on our store. If you or anyone is interested, I'll drop a link down below. Moving on to cable management, it looks all right. The power strip seems to have been shoved between the cabinets and the wall, and the cables behind the monitors look a bit messy. From the front, the setup looks pretty clean though, so Cormac does get a pass here. The PC has also been kept in darker colors. Looks like we have a pre-built that has been upgraded little by little over time, currently packing a Ryzen 5 3600 and an RTX 4060. If you're not planning on building a new system, I assume your next upgrades are going to be the motherboard and RAM to slowly but surely catch up with the newer hardware. But yeah, very cozy setup overall. Thank you, Cormac, for sharing this with us. Setup numero dos is more colorful with retro synthwave vibes and it belongs to Elijah. He's a 16-year-old Chick-fil-A employee from Janesville who built it mainly for gaming and homework. Looking at those speakers and the guitar, I think you might use it for making music as well. I really like that dual horn design, by the way. Oh, hold on one second. Okay, I'm being told right now that it's actually called a double cut design, and it's an Epiphone SG, the little sister of the American-made Gibson SG guitars, played by Angus Young from AC/DC and Tony Lamy from Black Sabbath. Rob, why the hell do people need this info? Alright, fine. Jeez. Don't yell. With story time out of the way, he's got a single 27-inch 1080p monitor mounted to the desk, sandwiched between his Edifier speakers. I know I sound like a broken record, but please get speaker stands. And people wonder why I say the same thing in almost every single video. It's because the same thing needs to be said. I know it's a minor thing, but it goes a long way for both aesthetics and listening experience. As for peripherals, Elijah went with a Wamier 60% keyboard and a Razer mouse. Besides those, the desk surface has been kept minimal with only a few figurines and his audio gear. While we look underneath the desk though, we see a very familiar floating design. The tabletop is supported by those triangle brackets, which is what I used for my previous setup. However, if you're ready to take the next step, you gotta find your local welder. All the cables are tied together with zip ties and attached to the desk, although there's this power cable on the left that's just hanging there. I mean, that's not really a big deal, but what you could do to clean up the look a little is attach it to the desk and only have the extension cable running down to the outlet. The same goes for the Hello Neon sign cable on the right. With some adjustments, you might be able to hide it behind a cable channel. Now onto the PC that's powering the setup. Looks like it's featuring an i5 13600K paired with the Gigabyte Vision RTX 3070. There's definitely positive pressure here with 6 intake and only 3 exhaust fans, but it's clear that aesthetics were the priority here, as we can tell by the LCD screen in the back. With dimmed lights, this setup actually really pops. Thank you, Elijah, for coming on the show. After a really long time, we finally have another man cave on the show. It's divided into 2 setups, one for modern and retro gaming, and another all-black corner with a massive 49-inch screen for music production. It belongs to none other than Fred, a metal musician and producer specializing in the deathcore genre. I'll be honest, metal isn't really my thing, like math is to an art major, but I know some of you guys will appreciate it. And judging by that massive monitor, he's making the most out of his sound design work. It's powered by an Asus TUF laptop that's also connected to the Arturia Mini Fuse and those massive Yamaha HS7 speakers, which have been painted in black to match the dark aesthetics. The rest of his recording gear is tucked away in a drawer to the left. The couch gaming setup is what takes up most of the space in his room. We've got 2 4K TVs, a 75-inch Samsung, and a 43-inch Sony in portrait mode, as he mostly plays old arcade games, survival horror, and Resident Evil. I mean, who would have thought? I'm not judging, by the way. It's just, in my experience, most people that are into metal really like the darker and horror-themed games. So it couldn't have been more cliche. You can see Fred loves his arcade games, especially with the arcade sticks and the collection of old school consoles and games that he has. He even got himself a custom Nintendo Switch with golden accents and his logo. That's freaking cool. He does have a small corner with your typical PC setup though. There's an RK87 keyboard with custom anime keycaps paired with a SteelSeries mouse. The PC underneath the desk features a Ryzen 5 3600 and an RTX 3080. It's not super flashy by any means, but since it's tucked away, there's really no need for it anyways. Cable management is great on both setups. There are virtually no cables visible from eye level and have all been kept flush to the desks. The combination of hobbies and work in the same room works very well in this constellation. The left side is dedicated to all his retro games, VHS movie collection, posters, merch, and more, while the right side is reserved for productivity and making music. Truly a great setup, Fred. I wish you nothing but success in your music career, and I look forward to your next application if you ever decide to come back on the show. Up next is Martin with his Ferrari themed setup. Mainly a tribute to Formula 1 with tons of red accents and a racing sim. But the highlight for me is that Bionicle collection on the top shelf. I'm not sure if that's the whole lineup from Hero Factory, but such a collection is a very rare sight. I mean, that's some serious nostalgia right there and makes me very jealous, especially if you've seen the rebooted version. Those things are atrocious. But enough ranting, there's quite a lot going on in this setup, so let's break it down. We've got triple monitors connected to his main gaming PC for playing racing sim. Gaming on 3 27-inch displays combined with an F1 Ferrari steering wheel will for sure make the whole process super immersive. But taking it a step further, Martin even has a pair of Ferrari branded racing shoes. I mean, that's next level dedication. For peripherals, the choice fell on a Logitech keyboard and CZC mouse, a brand I've never heard of. But what's interesting is that the tablet behind them is used as a telemetry display. The PC pushing all those pixels sits on a custom-built shelf and is rocking yet another Ryzen 5 3600 and an Asus RX 6750 XT. Separating your productivity and entertainment spaces is often beneficial. That's why the left setup is meant for studying and uni work and has a single 27-inch Acer display with budget peripherals. The left monitor from the gaming setup though is blocking almost half of this setup. I can't imagine it being comfortable to work or type at when your view is obstructed like this. It could be that Martin flips the gaming monitor into vertical mode when working, but I don't have any evidence that supports this, nor photos of him using the productivity setup, so this mystery will stay unsolved. I mean, you could consider adjusting the mounts for better ergonomics. The PC is just an HP pre-built with no fancy specs, but that's more than enough for homework and other miscellaneous tasks. Since the desk is all custom made by his dad, they took the smart route and built a backboard to hide all the cables. Adding or removing the gear later might be a little tricky, but it doesn't seem to be too chaotic, so this one gets a solid pass. You know, we often see the final result whenever we look at someone's setup and forget how much work and time and dedication goes into building it. The sheer significance of a project that you put your heart and soul into is immense. Martin experienced something that, in my opinion, no one should in this world. Losing a parent at such a young age, while his classmates neglected him instead of being supportive. With the help of his dad, he built a setup that represents his passions and interests all from scratch. And Martin, if you're watching this video, I can assure you, you are an inspiration to many here. And just like you said, even if you're going through a difficult time, you can still successfully pursue what you love. Good luck with your studies, and I'm really glad you found new friends that really appreciate you. Our final setup this year is from another car enthusiast, McGinnis. Now, at first glance, you might say there's only a couple of cars on the shelf, so what's the big deal here? Well, pan a little bit to the left, my boys and girls, and you'll see a massive collection of Lego and Hot Wheels cars. Sweet Lord. The ones on the bottom shelf are even sorted by color. That is a lovely freaking sight. So McGinnis is a student from Athens, and no, not the one in Greece, but the one in Georgia, and he built the setup for gaming and schoolwork. He's rocking triple scepter monitors in a TIE Fighter layout and even skinned the bezels in white to stay consistent with the color scheme. The rest of his equipment is also mainly in white, with the speakers, Stream Deck, custom keyboard, and mouse, with the only exception being the TechSource Camo Fusion mousepad. Cable management is super clean. I'm really surprised how well you routed them through the cable channel, but I noticed that most of them are also hidden behind the drawer on the right. Onto the PC. It's a white build inside the Thermaltake S100 case with a Ryzen 5 5600 and a Gigabyte Vision 3060 GPU. A great setup to close out this year's Setup Wars. Thank you, McGinnis, for coming on the show. Unfortunately, that will do it for the last episode of Setup Wars of this year. As we move into 2025, we're going to shift it into 6th gear and bring you guys even more exciting videos. I am so thrilled and excited for the next year. As always, if you guys enjoyed the episode, let me know by tossing a like and leave a comment on which of these setups was your favorite. Happy New Year's, and I will see you guys in the next year.